special interview with four-time Grammy Award-winning musicians Joel and Luke Smallbone from the music group King and Country. They were born in Sydney, Australia and are now based in Nashville, USA. Their growing list of accomplishments include #1 singles, headlining tours in sold-out arenas around the world, as well as winning Grammy and Billboard Music Awards. Following appearances on the biggest television programs worldwide, this led them to creating music with some of the musical heroes, such as Dolly Parton, Timbaland, Lecrae, Tori Kelly, and Kirk Franklin. The lockdown time gave them an opportunity for full immersion into their music. Life slowed down enough to allow an exhale and to take stock of their life, count their blessings, and sound a call of compassion, togetherness, and celebration. From music, they have now moved into film by writing, producing, and starring in a film entitled Unsung Hero, which is based on the remarkable true story following their father, David Smallbone, as he moved his family from Australia to the United States, searching for a brighter future after his successful music career collapsed. With nothing more than 7 children, suitcases, and their love of music, David sets out to rebuild their lives. His wife's faith stands against all the odds and inspires her husband and children to hold out onto theirs. It's an uplifting tale of courage and compassion. This heartwarming, real-life story shows a resilience and hope. To give us an insight into their music career and film based on their real lives, we're now joined by Grammy Award-winning musicians Joel and Luke Smallbone. Hi guys, how you doing?
We're well, coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee in the United States.
Amazing, amazing. Now, can you give us a little insight, please, Luke, into your childhood and growing up in Australia?
Yeah. So our father was a concert promoter in Australia, and on one particular tour that he brought back, the tour didn't go very well. And we ended up losing everything that we had as a family. We lost the house, the car, the life savings. And so Dad was looking for a fresh start for his career, got a job offer in Nashville, Tennessee, decided to move his 6 kids and his wife, who was 6 months pregnant, to Nashville, Tennessee. But soon after we arrived, Dad lost that job. And so straight on the other side of the world, no friends, no family. We were sleeping on beds made out of clothes. Weren't always quite sure where the next meal was going to come from. Didn't have any way for our little sister to be born in a hospital. Didn't have a car. And look, we struggled as a family when we first came, but we got to see some amazing miracles take place during kind of our early years of being in America. And I've told this story, or some semblance of this story, for the last 11 or 12 years from stage is for King and Country, and had a lot of people come up and say, Luke, Joel, you should write a book. The truth is, Joel and I were homeschooled, so we don't read or write very well. And so we thought maybe we could make a movie instead. And the blueprint behind this movie, Unsung Hero, really is this. Mother Teresa says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And that's really been the purpose and reasoning for making this film, Unsung Hero.
What an amazing testimony there as well. It's an incredible film, which I've had the privilege of watching as well. But Joel, just give us an idea about how God has been providing for your family, especially during such difficult times, and what faith meant to you.
Yeah, good question, Cyrus. Well, it's this is, Luke and I were very young when the film takes place. It takes place in 1991. And so we kind of really came at it as kids. It was this great adventure that we got to experience. We didn't have any furniture in the house. We were like, well, we get to play cricket in the house. And, we didn't have any money. So we got to, like Luke said, we got to homeschool and rake leaves and mow lawns and kind of put it all back into the family fund. And so it taught us so much in that time. It was only when we sort of flipped the script, if you will, and we stepped into Luke as a producer, myself as a co-writer and co-director, and then also I play our dad in the film, which is I've dubbed a very expensive therapy session. It was only then, Cyrus, that we got to see the stress and the strain and the struggle, the heroism of our mum, the insecurity, the pride, the compounding failure that our dad was walking through. And it's been really profound to actually kind of see it now from an adult's perspective, drop back into literally our dad's shoes or his jacket. That's his jacket from 30 years ago. So quite the experience, to say the least.
It's an incredible tale because it just shows the faith that your mum had, never giving up, but also your father, who was at the peak of his career, from having everything he could ever want to all of a sudden losing everything, and as a pride of a man as well. And he was going out, mowing people's lawns, even a well-known music performer as well, mowing his lawns, cleaning his toilets. He really went down on his knees as well. And you could see he lost the belief in himself, but your mother's the one that kept with her faith and kept the family going, and even made it you as a children to make it that you were an adventure. What was that like for you growing up?
Man, it was an amazing adventure. Our mom, you know, it's funny that the film obviously depicts her as this stabilizing force, and she has been that for all of us. You know, there's 7 kids in the family. And it's a very interesting situation in that there's a lot of people that have said, hey, so you must have walked through all these really difficult times. Has there been a lot of trauma, PTSD from some of that? And the answer is actually no. For whatever reason, we felt very loved by mom and dad, and felt very comfortable and safe inside their love. So even though the circumstances were maybe not ideal, it didn't feel threatening to us. You know, we recognized that we were poor. We recognized that we were going through very, very difficult things. But at the same time, there was this great sense of adventure. And I think that has a lot to do with, obviously, you know, mom and dad, but probably particularly mom, in how she did hold the family together. Our mother, all the invisible things that nobody sees, our mother did incredibly well. And I think there's a lot of people that think in this world that you got to have a platform or an audience or some sort of influence to really make a big difference in this world. And the truth is, I think it's all the invisible things that people do that change the trajectory of generations. And I think our mother did that very, very well.
Now, Joel, tell us about what did you personally learn from being a child as well, going through such hardships as well, but also your faith as a family was so strong. You were praying before meals and you were very, very close to Jesus Christ as well. And it was amazing to see that kind of God kept you as a glue and as a unit, as a family. What was that like for you growing up?
Yeah, well, it's what I'm really proud of with the film is that it's really close to actually what took place. So much so that we even plucked out inspired by or based on a true story and just said, this is a true story. Yeah. And so for us to kind of, you know, re-image that on screen and re-image the adventure, re-image the miracles was quite an epiphany. But another sort of insightful component to bringing this film to life was just the incredible men and women that rallied around the picture in production. You know, you have, for the Lost fans out there, you got John Locke from Lost playing our granddad, or Terry O'Quinn. You got Candace Cameron-Bure or DJ Tanner from Full House, executive producing, and you've got Lucas Black from Fast and Furious and NCIS stepping in as well. And so you have Lionsgate, who has made the film the #2 movie in America last week when it was released. And so this is a film about miracles. This is a film about mums. This is a film about family. And it's been cool to actually see a whole other list of miracles as we've been sort of creating and now releasing the project to the world. And we're really thrilled to share that from what we're told, it's coming to theaters in your great land on June the 14th. So just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a bit, Luke, about the importance of hope and the message of hope that this film has brought? Because obviously you were really involved in the writing of this film as well. But why do you think it's important to bring hope into this world today and really demonstrate how obstacles can be overcome and give hope to some of the people of turning negatives to a positive?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, well, what are some things that you remember that your parents said that have, you know, stayed with you, that have really impacted you? And one of the things that my mom used to say when I was very young that I found very powerful is when we would have, you know, a cricket match, it get rained out, or over here it'd be baseball, or you have a best friend coming over and they get sick, or you get sick and it gets canceled. My mom would say, "Luke, are you disappointed?" I'd say, "Of course I'm disappointed. I was really looking forward to, you know, them coming over." And she would say, it's a very good thing to learn how to overcome disappointment. And at the end of the day, that statement is because she's hopeful. She actually has hope. When you have this thing called hope, you can overcome insurmountable obstacles in life. And at the end of the day, if you're looking to be a happy person, you've got to find joy. And what is fascinating about joy is joy. You can be joyful in the midst of incredibly challenging moments of your life. And that's because there's a different soul work that's taking place that produces this thing called hope. One of the scriptures I love, it says, you know, if you experience, you go through struggles, it produces character, perseverance, and ultimately leads to hope. What it actually is insinuating that unless you go through some of those things, you won't have this wonderful thing called hope. So I hope for anybody that's watching or listening to this, know that when you're going through trials of all sorts of kinds, it's working in you, it's doing something in your soul, and ultimately it's producing this wonderful thing that we call hope.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Joel, can you give our viewers, for any of our viewers who have not seen the film, an insight into what happened in that hospital when your sister was born, and the importance of community and people coming together as well, and your father not being abandoned at that time?
Yeah. Well, without too many spoiler alerts, this film really depicts Mum as an unsung hero in it. But in fairness to her journey, she has found her dream. Her dream was always to have a big family. And so it's part of what makes her the unsung hero is her lifting up her husband, our dad, who had a dream to have an impact in the religious arts, specifically in music, and followed him literally to the ends of the earth, only to arrive here and have not have any insurance, not have any way for our little sister to be born in a hospital, and have to step into that as a woman in a high-risk pregnancy, because this was her 7th child that she had bore. And so to depict, obviously, there's so many layers for me, man, playing our dad. But to depict I'm yet to be a father, so to depict a birthing scene, I had every dad on set rush in and try to tell me what I should be feeling. But Daisy, the actress, did a marvelous job of depicting it, and I feel like capturing the question and the struggle and the strain of it. So without going into too many spoiler alerts, it's that's one of the sort of pivotal, sort of pinnacle moments of the film. And I'll say this too, I hope that this is very much a film circled around our family. But Luke and I with the band have always prescribed to this idea: the closer we get to our own heart and creativity, the further it reaches out into someone else's. And so the hope with this film is, yes, this is about our mum, but this is really about mums. And this is about our family, but it's really about the family. This is about taking risks as a family and seeing miracles and praying together as a family. And what we're seeing here in the States, and we're excited to bring over to the UK, is we're seeing people relate to it on a very personal level, from 2 to 82, which is a really beautiful thing.
What was the reaction of your own family, your siblings and other members of your family once they watched this film for the very first time? Luke, what was their reaction?
Yeah, well, we rented out a little theater in our town, and we played it for them. And I think, you know, you get to the ending of it, it's a pretty emotional experience of, you know, and Mum, you know, shed some tears and, you know, had a moment. And our dad, obviously fairly overwhelmed with his own emotions, went and talked to the projectionist about the film, probably because it was just so much to take in for him. Obviously, he's since probably watched this film more so than any other person alive. And you know, the likelihood of our 75-year-old father going to therapy and talking about some of things is probably unlikely. But ironically enough, I think watching this film has been quite a lot of therapy for him and been very, very healing. And so, man, I think that they're proud of it. I think that their stance has always been, if God can use our story and do something significant with it in other people's lives, then he can have it. You know, he can have the story. And to see the impact of it, even just so far here in the States, has been quite astounding.
Amazing. Now, Joel, during COVID, it kind of changed your life in certain different ways. Can you give us, our viewers, an insight into what happened during COVID and your experience?
Well, it's fascinating that this film is really a brainchild out of COVID. I mean, for us as a band, obviously the first thing to go was live events, but it got us, we were able to sit back and really do some reflection. We released a single with Tori Kelly and Kirk Franklin called Together in that time. We worked on a Christmas album that has since gone on to be a really pivotal moment for us. And then this film really, Luke called that producer, and that sort of fateful call at the end of 2020, we were on a drive-in tour. So we were taking over theaters.
Wow.
or drive-in theaters, and we were putting a load of cars in there and pumping the music into their cars. And one day we met at a little hotel with the producers with masks on and socially isolated. We told them about the story with the screenwriter. And so, you know, for all of us, the pandemic on a micro and macro level represents so many different terrors and in some ways pivotal life moments. And for us, there's no doubt that I would argue that if you didn't have the pandemic, I don't know if this film would actually exist, because it was through that time that we really got to put pen to paper with it. So in a strange sort of way, in certain areas, we were grateful for the intermission in some ways that it created.
Luke, can you give us an insight into your music career and then transforming music then into the film industry? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, obviously starting out in music quite a number of years ago together with Joel, it has been a little bit of a circus. It's quite an interesting thing, seeing these things, you know, a passion of music and developing it over many, many years. But I do think that some people have thought, you know, it's such a different world when it comes to music and film, and they are extremely different. But it still comes back to storytelling. It still comes back to, you know, is the art that is being created, does it evoke some sort of emotion? I think that if Joel and I were to only ever do and continue to do music, I think that we would probably end up creating less music, because sometimes it's important for, you know, to do as a creative, just to do different art, and the art actually ends up infusing more creativity into the art that maybe you were doing, whether it's music or film. They both kind of work in a circular motion and feed each other. And so it's been surprising, I think, that probably both Joel and I, how much we've enjoyed working on this project. It has certainly had its moments of incredible difficulty, but it's the same in music. Music is very, very hard. I don't think any art ever really wants to be created, especially stuff that's worthwhile and that is good. But it matters and it's powerful, and then it means a lot to people. And so our hope is to obviously continue to make more music and continue to make more films in the future.
Amen. What about you, Joel? From your perspective, the importance and the power of storytelling through both music and film. What do you think?
Well, this has been great, Cyrus, in that we've always been a visual band. And so visuals and sound have always kind of met, from our music videos to our live show. We've put so much emphasis on it. And so this film and God willing, ensuing films in the future will be sort of a continuation of this marriage between sonics and visuals. And man, I think, to Luke's point, it's some of the most exciting days in our time as creatives to envision, you know, what could we do that's never been done before by marrying these two together. So more stories to come, Cyrus, both more albums and more films, and meeting in the middle between them.
Amen, amen, and amen to that. Luke, can you tell us how viewers or your audience have been affected by the music that you performed, the movies that you've now you've now created as well? How are lives been affected and touched? What sort of reaction have you been receiving?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that movies, you often watch a movie and you start applying what you're seeing up on screen to your own life, right? And I think because this film is speaking about family, most families have got, our family is a functionally dysfunctional family. All right. It's not all pretty. It's not all whatever, but we still care for each other. We still, love each other. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that have gone through the experience of losing everything and trying to patch their life and put it all back together. And so, I've often said that if you want revival in this day and age, it starts with your family. It starts with what it looks like for particularly fathers to go home and invest in their families. And I think that people are watching this movie, hopefully listening to some of this music, and starting to go, man, I want to be a part of changing, the trajectory of my family. And a lot of that has to do with literally just versus, I've often said it like this: there's going out seasons in work, right? There's times where you work extremely hard, but you've got to come back. You've got to spend time, in some cases, retreating, because that's where you refuel yourself. And so anyway, I hope people watch this film, and that's the evidence of what we're seeing. Actually, as people do watch this, they start talking about their own families and saying, "Well, I'm gonna make some changes in how we do things." And that's been one of the most rewarding parts about, obviously, from the music side, it's very similar, but specifically with this movie is people saying, "Okay, I want to do family differently. I've made some mistakes," and as I said, particularly for fathers, saying, "I made some mistakes. I want to make some changes, and I want to invest more in my home life."
I think that's a wonderful point there, Luke, as well, because the importance of family is so incredibly important. Joel, what was that like for you? You're constantly traveling, performing your music and everything else. How easy was it for you to keep your family unit together, especially as, like most people, many fathers around the world or many members of family, they're traveling for work purposes and such things. How easy is it to keep that family unit together?
Mm-hmm. Well, Luke, thanks to Luke and Courtney, Mariah and I have 4 godchildren and 15 nieces and nephews, but we are yet to have any children of our own. But I will say that, family, one of the things we love about depicting it in the film is family comes in all ways, shapes, and sizes. And I think we prescribe to this idea that, the moment you marry, you've created a family between you and your spouse. It's one of the only institution that God sort of passed down to humanity. And so prioritizing marriage and the partnership between us, Mariah was a co-producer on this film as well, has been really pivotal for me and for her and for the sort of proliferation of creativity. Because, if the home fires aren't right and there's not great partnership and understanding and clarity at home, the domino effect is profound. And so it's really through the family, it's through Luke and Courtney and their kids, it's through Mariah and me that these projects come to life. I think if you extract sort of our home life out of it, I don't think you have Unsung Hero or really any of these other projects.
Luke, for anyone that's going through difficulties in their life right now, maybe they're at a crossroads, they don't know which way to turn and then complete despair, what message of hope can we give to our viewers today?
Oh man, well, I mean, look, I think one of the things I've realized is every story is a little bit different, right? In regards to when you're going through struggle, there's so much nuance and purpose in how you navigate those types of things. What I will say though is I had someone come up to me the other day and they said, "Hey, when you've gone through, some of your own struggles personally, because since I've been in music, I've gotten very, very sick. I've nearly lost one of my children. There's been all sorts of different, challenging moments." And someone said, "Hey, so did that make you want to turn your back on God?"
Wow.
And I said, "Man, you want to go from hopelessness to more hopelessness?"
Wow.
That's just not how it works. Like, at least you have in who Jesus is a hopeful future. And so what I would say to anyone who's watching is going through some of those things, don't turn your back on the actual thing that provides hope in your life, that actually provides purpose for your life, because otherwise it's despair. It's even further despair the other direction. And so cling to those moments of truth, cling to those things that are unmovable, unshakable. I think that when you're going through crisis, you got to get back to the bare bones for the foundation of who you are. And sometimes that comes back to the foundation of what Jesus has for you in your life.
Absolutely beautiful. And Luke, if you just give a little inspirational note or a message to any of our viewers going through a difficult time in their lives right now, what would you say to them?
Look, I would say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Wow.
This film is a film obviously about a biological family banding together, being our family, but there are so many in your life that are for you. So much about what it feels like this digital age represents, which is interesting, contrasting it to 1991 when the film depicts, is we're faced with so much more today. Cyrus, we're faced with, you know, social media, we're faced with the internet, we're faced with smartphones, we're faced with AI. We're faced with the reality of knowing what's going on around the globe in an instant. And it can all lead to sort of fear and a lot of loneliness. And so not only our vocational mindset, not only our spiritual mindset, but also our relational mindset is, again, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Find people that are for you. Build that community. And that's where I think true joy and happiness is found. And it kind of fights against a lot of what the Western culture is built on, and that is individualism and like pave your own trail. And we've found actually the opposite, that there's the great beauty in doing life as a unit.
Wow, that's beautiful. I want to say a huge thank you to Joel and Luke Smallbone thank you so much for joining us on Revelation TV, sharing your testimony, sharing your life, but also this amazing film, Unsung Hero, which I encourage all our Revelation TV viewers to go out and watch. So thank you guys. God bless you both.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time.